Imagine you're on vacation in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's a nice spring day, and you're out on a hike, and you're having a little trouble catching your breath. Well, you finally get to the summit, expecting to see a wonderful view, but you're disappointed to see this lingering haze over the horizon. Whether you know it or not, greenhouse gases affect us every day. As we carry on with our lives, have you ever stopped to think, how my day-to-day routine affects the environment? I was recently on a trip to the pristine wilderness of Alaska, and as I was hiking in elevations higher than the Blue Ridge Mountains, I realized that it was a lot easier to breathe. This inspired me to do research on the current data for greenhouse gas emissions. Today I'm going to talk to you about greenhouse gas emissions and how they've been rising over the past few years, the impact that private transportation has on greenhouse gas emissions, and a few steps that we can take to help reduce that impact. Ever since the rise of the industrial age, the levels of greenhouse gases have risen with it. Greenhouse gases have been on a rise ever since the early 1900s. According to the EPA, CO2 has increased 90% since the 1970s. 78% of this increase is due to the burning of fossil fuels. According to NOAA Annual Greenhouse Gas Index Report, human-produced greenhouse gases have risen 45% since 1990. According to the World Economic Forum 2019 report, the U.S. is the second largest producer of greenhouse gases at 14.6%. This is more than twice that of the third-ranked country, India. Out of all the factors that contribute to human-produced greenhouse gases, the largest contributor to that is transportation. A 2020 EPA Fast Facts article states that 28% of greenhouse gases produced in the United States is from transportation. This beats out the production of electricity by 1% and industry by 6%. When the category of transportation is broken down, the category of light-duty vehicles, which consists of cars, trucks, and SUVs, produces 59% of transportation's greenhouse emissions. Compare this to medium and heavy-duty trucks like tractor-trailers that produce only 23% of the U.S.'s transportation emissions. All other forms of transportation, including airplanes, ships, trains, and a category called Other, the remaining total is only 18%. With this information, it's easy to see that our daily routine is going to school, going to work, and running around to do errands and social activities plays a large part in the amount of greenhouse gases we produce as individuals. How can I reduce my impact? I rely on my car to do everything. Well, that's a pretty good question. Here's a few solutions that may interest you. We all have those moments where we have to run down to the local store. If that local store is a couple miles away, maybe less, why not walk or ride a bicycle? Not only do these forms of transportation not produce any emissions, they give you a little bit of exercise too. Have you ever thought about buying a motorcycle or a scooter? According to the EPA report, these forms of transportation fall in the category of Other, which only produces 5% of the transportation emissions. According to Autoblog.com, the average fuel consumption of a motorcycle is 56 miles per gallon. Compare this to your average vehicle, which does 22 miles per gallon, and that's a significant increase in fuel economy, which in turn translates into less greenhouse gas emissions per mile. Does the aspect of owning a motorcycle seem dangerous? Well, if you live in town, why not use public transportation? Buses are in the same category as motorcycles, according to the EPA. And if you live out in rural areas, have you thought about hybrid or electric vehicles for your next vehicle purchase? According to fueleconomy.gov, most new hybrid vehicles on the market average 55 miles per gallon. This is quite comparable to motorcycles. I hope you take this information that I've given you today and think about the impact that you have on the environment, and then use it to move forward in your day-to-day life. I've covered the rises of greenhouse gases in the world in the past few years, how transportation impacts those greenhouse gas emissions, and a few simple solutions that we can use to help reduce that impact. Reducing the amount of greenhouse gases that we produce as individuals will make our world a better and more livable place, not only for ourselves but for future generations to come. The steps we take today will set a standard for the following generations so they can aspire to do better.